Hey up everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about a mythical fighter that is Contender Israel Adesanya.
I'm the new dog in the yard, and I just all over this cage.
This one's very self-explanatory. It's when Israel Adesanya is simply a contender. Because like this weekend he's going up against Dricus du Plessis and he is the contender. Dricus du Plessis is the champion. And I've seen people say, oh, Dricus du Plessis is going to win. And we give valid reasons to why. And then you have other people like, nah bro, Israel Adesanya, he's a contender again. He's going to fuck him up. And then just don't give any other reason. That's the only reason they give. He's a contender again. He's going to fuck him up. By the way, I just want to make everyone aware, I'm not saying that Contender Israel Adesanya is shit by any means. He was really good, but I'm just sick of this myth and people like trying to justify it for why they think Adesanya's going to win. Like, give no other valid reasons. It's just he's a contender, so he's going to win. I just think it's quite daft. And I don't completely believe in it. Considering we're talking about Contender Izzy, it's only fair that we go through his fights when he was a contender. Starting off, we have Israel Adesanya versus Rob Wilkinson in his UFC debut. And this was just a solid performance, kind of put him on the map. I remember everyone at the time was making comparisons to John Jones, which was very weird. But yeah, a decent performance in his UFC debut. We then move on to his second fight in the UFC, and that was against none other than Marvin Vettori. He did win this by a split decision. It was a bit close. I remember Marvin Vettori being very pissed about this fight because he thought he really should have won. When I think everyone agreed that Adesanya won this fight, but it was quite close. You know, he struggled a lot with Vettori's grappling. It was an okay performance. Nothing great, nothing of this myth status. We then have Adesanya's first ever 5-round fight in the UFC, and that was against Brad Tavares, a decent little gatekeeper for the middleweight division, and he passed this test with quite flying colours really. He didn't really struggle at all. It was quite a comfortable victory for Adesanya. And it was just an okay performance. You can't really go too wrong against Brad Tavares. After this, we had to fight what put him on the map, in my opinion. That was when he finished Derek Brunson in the first round. Derek Brunson was just trying to spam takedowns constantly. And then as he was walking in, Adesanya just caught him and put him out in the first round. This was a very good performance at the time, and I think it was a decent performance for Contender Israel Adesanya. But then it goes a bit flat-footed in my opinion, because his next fight was against Anderson Silva. And fair enough if this was a prime Anderson Silva, but as we all know, this wasn't a prime Anderson Silva. This was in 2019, when Anderson Silva was far past his prime. And it was just okay. I think it was 1-1 going into the third and final round and Adesanya won. If you're a big anime nerd, then you probably would have loved this with all the cringe shit what Adesanya was doing. I won't lie, I was a big Adesanya fan. So yeah, maybe I did find it pretty cool. I still do kind of find it pretty cool. Well, still cringe as well though. But yeah, nothing great. It was just okay. You know, and people like to regard this as, you know, GOAT contender Israel Adesanya. No, it was okay against a washed and very past it Anderson Silva. After this, we had it when Israel Adesanya won the interim title for the middleweight division against Kelvin Gastelum. And, yeah, I don't know what to say about this one, really. It was just, you know, Gastelum, the win against Gastelum just hasn't aged that well. I can't remember how many losses Gastelum picked up after this fight against Adesanya. I think it was Darren Till, Hermanson. I can't remember who else. He's lost a few times in the middleweight division after this fight against Adesanya. It was a very entertaining fight. Don't get me wrong, it's one of my all-time favourite fights. I think it's great. But he was like 2-2 going into the fifth. And yeah, he really turned up in the last round when he really needed to. But he went life and death against a fat middleweight who really should belong in the welterweight division. He even went down to the welterweight division to take on Sean Brady. I don't know if his next fight will be in the welterweight division as well. But I don't know what's going on with Kelvin Gastelum. But this win just kind of aged like milk in my opinion. We then have when Contender Izzy really showed up. Probably his best performance as Contender Izzy. And that's when he went up against Rob Whittaker. Obviously, Adesanya was the interim champion, whereas Whittaker was the proper champion. So, you know, he still is the challenger, the contender at this point. So yeah, great performance by Izzy. One of his greatest performances. It probably is his greatest performance. Aged great. Can't go wrong with this. This is like the peak of Contender Israel Adesanya in my opinion. And now we move on to the fight where I feel like a lot of people forget Israel Adesanya was a contender and don't really include it in this myth of Contender Israel Adesanya. And that's when he moved up a weight division to take on Jan Blachowicz. Yes, he is still a champion for the middleweight division, but he was contending and challenging for the light heavyweight title against Jan Blachowicz and he lost. He got outstruck and outgrappled by Jan Blachowicz. I think most people scored it 1 round for Adesanya and the other 4 rounds for Jan Blachowicz. He got completely shut down by Jan Blachowicz. It was a great performance by Jan Blachowicz, and well, Israel Adesanya just bottled it simply, and that's Contender Izzy that you guys seem to gas up a lot. That was Contender Izzy, and he lost. And then you move on a few years later when he lost to Alex Pereira, and then they had the rematch where again Adesanya was the contender, and he was able to get the knockout over Alex Pereira. But the only thing with this one is, I feel like he was losing all of that fight until he got the finish. Alex Pereira felt like it had his number, but then he just got caught. Simple as. It was a fantastic knockout. I'm not taking anything away, by the way. But all this Contender Izzy talk, you'll be thinking Adesanya was absolutely blasting him in the rematch. That wasn't the case. You know, he was getting battered, really. His leg was getting chewed up. He was getting tagged a fair bit. He was hurt against the cage. And he did a great job of getting that knockout. Don't get me wrong. I know people will be like, well, what was the outcome? This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about how he's not made out like you guys have made him out to be, this mythical fighter. And that's all it is. Again, a great knockout over Alex Pereira. But let's not make out that this Contender Izzy is some unbeatable guy, but he's some other levels ahead of when he's a champion, because that's just not the case in my opinion. And then you have his last fight against Sean Strickland, where he lost the title, so now he's a contender again, and he'll be competing for gold against Dricus du Plessis this Saturday. I do think this is a hard fight to predict. If I had to put all my money on it, I would go with Dricus. I just think he mixes it up so well. You know, he throws unorthodox strikes. He's very just a weird, unique style in general. Feel like it might be too much for Israel Adesanya, but I am very intrigued in this fight, and I know if Adesanya goes on to win, everyone's going to laugh at me for this video, and, you know, he'll be considered the contender bender, or, well, that actually sounds a bit weird, but regardless, I know everyone will be glazing him, saying, oh, contender is, he's real. It's like, no, he's not, man, but, you know, I'm very excited for this fight. I can't wait to see how it goes. I've liked the hype going into the fight, the build-up between these two, and I can't wait to see how it goes. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you believe in Contender Israel Adesanya? In my words, contender bender, or do you not? Do you think it's just utter bollocks like myself? Do you believe any other MMA myths? Let me know of any others in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.